Hi guys, it's Bethany Finch with American Made Home Solutions. You're wondering, I'm clearly in the car. Yes. So, oh, sorry, it just froze, so I wasn't sure what was going on. So, yes, I committed to 30 days of spending time with you, and so giving you the chance to possibly gain some value as well as get to know us a little better. And in so doing, that meant committing to a time and a schedule, and sometimes life doesn't always work out the way we want, right? So in this case, I am traveling back, and so literally the time shows up. I wasn't going to be able to change the time, so it's okay. We're in the car, so we are in the car today, but hopefully you can hear me and you're not hearing the road noise or anything. So today's how-to, I believe we are on day 17. The how-to videos, and today's how-to is how to help your kids sleep. Sleep is such an important thing for everybody, not just kids, but especially for kids, because there's so much going on in their little bodies that the sleep is when our bodies restore and repair and build and grow. You've heard the phrase, he literally grew 2 inches overnight. There's truth to that. So sleep is such a paramount thing. And I'm sure many of you are noticing, especially now with COVID, your kids are sleeping less and less and less, or although they may be in bed longer, their sleep isn't as good. You're seeing darker circles or crankiness and irritability and kind of unexplained things like this. And those are oftentimes key indicators of poor sleep. Obviously, as adults, you see many people now being diagnosed with sleep apnea and such. And it's not usually common in kids or anything of that nature. But in this situation, I have some personal experience, right? As parents, we think about our kids primarily before our own needs and wants, and it is so much easier for us to spend our time and energy focused on them and their needs. And in doing so, we oftentimes don't think about us and our needs. One of the things that I had to learn the hard way is, I know this is going to shock you, but are you ready? Your kids are just like you. They are products of you and your spouse. So guess what? They're just like you. I did not know or understand my body well enough. And so when my kids were little, they had a very hard time sleeping. One of the biggest reasons that kids have the hardest time sleeping is because when there's a window that your body tells you it's time to rest and calm down and go to sleep. And if you miss that window, your body amps back up. You've heard of the second wind. That's basically what it is. So unfortunately, I didn't figure that out soon enough. And so I was constantly missing my kids' windows, and then they would be up. My newborn Jonathan, 36 hours straight without sleeping. 36 hours. Seriously. So yes, I learned it the hard way. And a lot of that has to do with the electrical energy. What we don't realize is our bodies are electric, our nerves and synapses and everything going on, and the brain telling this cell to do this and this cell communicating back, and all of that happens through electrical movement. And now with much more electricity around us and in our daily lives, it affects us even more. And so what happens, unfortunately, is just like that. Those of you that have raised boys, you know, the more tired a boy gets, the more amped up and amped up and amped up and amped up. And if you can literally hold on to him for a minute, he's literally asleep. And others, they could lay there forever and they just can't fall asleep, because what's happening is they cannot shut their brain down. So we as parents, in our efforts to teach our kids, the lessons we teach them aren't always, say, book knowledge and such. It's how to care for their bodies, how to meet their own needs so that they feel their best. And to do that, we have to recognize when is our children's window. So I finally figured out when my kids' window was, and it changed a little bit as they aged, but not by much. Both of my kids still needed larger amounts of time to sleep, where other kids can function on less. Mine did not. And so as long as I got them to bed during that window, but here's the key. With kids, their brain is still developing, so they're looking to us to cue them. So that's why there's, bedtime routines, right? Give them a bath, give them a story, last drink of water, whatever that routine is for you and your family. Those routines are telling their brains it's time to slow down and go to bed. So when you have an upset or disruption in that routine and it no longer happens, the brain doesn't think it's time to go to bed. So then it just keeps going. So the best thing you can do is try to figure out when you start to see your child yawning or getting irritable, his window is almost done, literally. So you want to have them in bed by the time that happens. That's why the routine is so important. So like in my situation, my kids it was around 8 o'clock. They had to be in bed 8 o'clock in hopes if they were not asleep by 8:30, they'd be up until like 1 o'clock in the morning every single time. There was that was their window. So one of the things that you can do is kind of try to figure out what that looks like for them. It might be 7 o'clock, and that may be hard on your schedule. But as you get it more consistent, you can bump it a little bit so it is easier on your schedule. But just like potty training, right? That schedule never works with anybody's schedule. It is what it is, right? We have to tell time where time is going to go because we all have the same amount of it in our day. So when we're teaching our kids how to create good habits and good sleep patterns and such, we have to recognize the importance of it. We're electrical, right? How do you get things to stop working when they're electrical? You unplug them. So many times kids are going to bed with a phone or a tablet or a computer or TV in their room, and there's so much science and data out there that proves it is harmful for them to have that. So it is definitely not a good practice to have that, even if it's just an hour before bed, kind of having that cutoff time so their brain can de-electrify and calm back down. And that's why the bath is so important as well, because it's that relaxing state. A lot of moms and dads will put lavender or chamomile or such in there. I used to actually spray their pillows with chamomile so that when they laid back, they were inhaling the aroma of it. One of the other things is white noise. Now, white noise can play a big factor because if they can't shut their brains down, my kids never really could tell me what it was. I could just see as a parent, their brain was still actively working. So oftentimes if you've got them 1,000 questions, well, what about this? And what about this? Their brain is still very active. That is not a good sign they're going to sleep anytime soon. So you want to cut that down with white noise. So when the kids were little, at first it started with just a fan in the room. So we could just have a fan going and it was just background noise. So they couldn't hear anything else. It was just something else to kind of drown out the rest. As they get a little older, I learned to play audiobooks at night. It went from a fan to a lullaby music type thing to then audiobooks, because what I could do is that I could control the volume, and I turned the volume down so they just could barely hear it. Not loud, barely hear it. And then their brain would be distracted with that story. And as their brain got distracted with that story, the volume again was low enough that it kind of lulled them into sleep and they were able to rest. So one of the best things that I ever learned was how to help my kids get sleep. Now, whether or not they still do it, I don't know any of that. They're grown. I'm old, right? So my kids are 24 and 19. I hope they still know how much I love and care for them, and they'll remember to call mom, text mom, answer her phone messages, whatever. But I also know that as our lives get busier, it is very easy to kind of step away from the things that we were just doing and we didn't realize it. And those things are habits that are helpful and good. So setting an alarm to get up isn't necessarily important. For some people, they can get up on their own now because they've been doing it for so long. But programming your brain to shut down and to go to sleep, this is quiet time, and doing so by removing that electricity. So some parents have had to go to further measures, and you may want to consider it. I would say test it out for a week. You might be surprised at the results, but test it out for a week. Every night when your kids go into bed, or right before you go into bed, turn the Wi-Fi off. Turn the Wi-Fi off in the whole house so that it's no longer coursing through the house, and then watch your kids' sleep and see if they get more sleep than during that week, if it's a better quality of sleep. I think you'll be surprised at how much better it is. All the parents that I know that had modems and routers that they were able to, turn that Wi-Fi off, it made such a big difference. And not even having the phone in their rooms, so there was no disruptive noise. Even on silent, it still buzzes, right? Or the lights turn on. I know I've looked over a dozen times in the night, and my husband's cell phone, the light is going off, and that's a distraction. So it alerts my mind and it wakes me back up, which is why I notice it, right? So you don't want any of that to happen for your children. So help them out. Be aware, look, technology is a little bit of part of the problem. My family, we are very EMF sensitive, so it is an issue, and we have to be very, very aware of it. You may not be aware of that in your family, but kids are almost more electrical than adults because their bodies are rebuilding and growing and generating a ton of electricity. So then you put more on that and it overloads them. Think of a circuit board that's overloaded. That's why we talk about them having meltdowns. That's exactly why they're literally overloaded. So especially now with virtual schools and all this going on, you want to do your best to help your kids, and helping them to learn to sleep better is one of the best things that you can do, because that will give lifelong dividends for your whole family, not just for them. And then they're able to think and grow and do what they need to do. But so many times kids are so tired, they literally can't think because their brain needs all the energy it has to do other things like grow and make new cells and things of that nature. So help them out, give them a good night's sleep, put some practices in place that make a difference for them, and you'll start reaping those benefits and those rewards. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any further questions about it, or you just want to check out, more resources about moms and things like that, drop your email down below or put your questions in the comment box. I'll be happy to address them and let you guys know. Obviously, I'm no expert. I'm just someone who's experienced a few things, right? Just like everybody else. But I also know the impact of it. And being a teacher for so many years and a coach, I know the power of rest. Even Lance Armstrong recognizes that and does specific things for recovery during races and such. So have a great day. I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow on day 18 of our 30-day journey, and we'll have a great time. And who knows? I have no idea what I'm talking about tomorrow. I'll look at the list and we'll let you know tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye for now.